Hey everybody, it's still here. In trading, we're always looking for that opportunity. We're always looking for that next either good trade or big trade, something that's going to make us some money in the market. So we need to find the chart. We need to find the pattern. We need to find the instrument, the symbol that's going to do that. So enter the Nison candle scanner, NCS for short. You'll see that I did a scan using the Market Analyzer NinjaTrader 8, and I found NKTR with a bullish engulfing. I flipped through all of these various charts looking for various patterns and so on, and this is what I came up with. This is what the pattern was. You see the consolidation going sideways. There was support at the bottom. There was a bullish candle that came up, and it was a neckline that came through and it exploded through. At this point, now I want to see, should I get in then, or should I be looking at various parameters? So let's take a look at some of the other things. So there is now the NCS providing us with the signal. There's the bearish engulfing signal on that move, wiping out multiple candles. Very powerful move, breaking a neckline, breaking various levels of resistance, but coming into the next level of resistance as well. And there was also divergence demonstrated. Prices were still rising and there was a divergence. I was expecting a pullback and looking for pullbacks perhaps back into this level, somewhere maybe a little bit higher. So I was going to look at an intraday and then also use a scan on an intraday basis. That's the beauty of the scanning. You can do weekly charts, monthly charts, daily, intraday charts, whatever you want, combinations of columns with daily and intraday as well. The other nice part about this chart was after this move, of course, the volume was very, very strong as well. So let's flip over to an hourly chart. So here's a 60-minute chart, and you see the strong move to the upside. There was some signals at the top giving us sell signals, of course, so one could have considered a short, but I was really looking for the pullback first and looking for that long setup based on the fact that while the overall daily chart was sideways, I was still looking for the upside move following this aggressive move. So as I said before, looking for probably a support area maybe in this vicinity here, right? Based on the highs that were there in the breakout that occurred, and then maybe based on a fib retracement of some kind. So I take the high and go back to the low. We're looking for something in the vicinity. So currently it was holding the 764 by the end of the session, and we were looking for something as low as maybe 1380 in that vicinity with the blue shaded area. But as strong as this was, chances are it doesn't go that low. So let me show you what happens over the next couple days. And there it starts to flag lower and consolidate. So now you can see the stochastics is actually showing oversold. Volume is very light, showing classic. Now we've got a bullish engulfing to consider. Is that enough? Maybe not. So there's a big sell-off at that point, and there now is a slightly higher volume bar with a bullish engulfing, and it coincided with the 50% retracement. So pretty decent place to consider entering, and one could have maybe waited until that 1440 level was cleared first. So if you didn't enter right away, trust me, you didn't miss out, because it hits that level and then breaks. So you got in there, but it starts to make a retracement right there. You see that lower shadow comes back and retests $14 to 50%, and it absolutely just explodes to the upside. So we had a bullish engulfing and a retest with a bull sash formation, and that's where essentially the entry would have been anywhere. Either you could have done it here and then you never would have hit your stop, or you could have done it on if you had missed it, then you were looking for the pullback and the retest, which is probably a better formation. And then with the lows being where they were, and this is really diverging, that was a great place to enter at that point. So when you start looking back at the daily chart, there's that neckline that we had earlier. And then there's the pullback we talked about, and then the bounce. And it happened to coincide as a high wave on the daily and a bullish engulfing and sash on the other side. And then that was the perfect entry. At that point, we're looking for targets back toward the highs of 15 to 1550 and possibly beyond that. And that's the move on the following session, because the volume was there, buyers were present, and so a big move from just above $14 into over $15, so a full dollar at least on this trade. And that's where it stands at the time of this recording. I'll quickly show you another long setup that occurred back late January. It was Amgen, and Amgen showed and flashed a bull sash formation. So I just want to show you some of the configurations first. You can see that there was a big flush, and then it started to make higher lows, and there was a window right here, a gap that was starting to backfill, and that's where the resistance occurred right through there. And then it retraced in a perfect flag-like formation to backfill the other window that was right here as well. You see that? So that came back, and then of course the last candle you see is that exact formation, the bull sash formation, which actually really worked out beautifully. You can see it here. There's the move, there's the drop, there's the bull sash. It was oversold as well in the stochastic, so everything seemed to line up beautifully in terms of a move up with a flag following the backfilling of multiple windows. And when you look at a swing trader standpoint as well, that lined up beautifully. We had the crossover, we had the pullback into the sweet spot, the lower shadow, the reversal, and right at the window. So many things, including the trend line that held support right through here as well. So many reasons why this was so compelling. But it was because of the NCS that it flashed the candle. I was able to look through charts and saw the chart, and then boom, there it was. And so there was where the move. So we're looking for targets back into backfill the window again, back to the highs where it was before, right there. And then possibly looking for elevated movements from there as well. So if anything, we'd be looking at something like maybe to here, into there, and maybe there. So as we advance, in fact, let me go back to this chart. What I'll do is just make sure that all the lines show up on all the charts. That way, okay, there we go. So now there it is. So then we're looking at that move, and we have the candle formation. There's the bull sash formation. There's another one into a little bit of a polarity in 156, and it starts to race. So we're looking for targets. There's that gap up. So now they're getting stronger to backfill, and so now a little bit of a cup-like formation in this move. And then it sees how it gaps up even again. Gaps right over everything into our next target and beyond, and then continued into our next target again, and then just so on and so on. So you could have been trailing this the whole time and moving higher. So all of that because of an identification of a candle formation with a perfect setup and chart pattern overall, that everything just seemed to line up perfectly. Of course, I wouldn't do it justice if I didn't show you something on the short side as well. So it was a scan done, and we came across ions with a shooting star in this pattern as well. So again, the perfect storm in a sense showed up. We have full polarity and resistance at the top in this brown area. There was a move higher, as you can see on a swing. It resisted, came back. Now looking at lows and highs in a similar box-like formation, a shooting star develops. So your stop is very tight. It's near the highs of that shooting star, essentially right there. And now you're looking for all this room to the downside, potentially all the way toward like $42 to even $40 on the downside. And the stochastics also showing overbought, and the volume is pretty high, meaning it was a lot of aggressive buyers, and at some point they run out of buyers. And then look at that huge gap down, and then another gap down. And so big move from that $56 range, $54 range, all the way already back down to about $46.50, pardon me. And that's where it stands currently at the time of this recording, with room still. You see that blue trend line I put in here? That was a possibility of some consideration of profit being taken right there. So it's almost there now. Possibly a little bit of consideration also right in this vicinity where these highs were. And that's kind of where it came into as well. So that's maybe why it stopped there. So I'm going to show you another one. So here's NVIDIA. Had just a massive run of late. Great company, great products, great run. And then while the lows were still running up, the highs were no longer going anywhere. So we had a strong bearish engulfing candle right there at that level, with a following a strong trend to the upside. Also, again, showing oversold and volume kind of on the high side with not a whole lot of price action. So looking for some downside, and the levels we would be looking for on the downside would have been levels of maybe some fib retracements, extensions included, but also maybe the trend line off some of these lows right here. So this blue line through here as well. So we're looking at levels and through here initially on the way down, and this turned out to be perfect. So another gap up, but also a massive sell-off that occurred through the lows of that bearish engulfing, and then plummeted into our first target area, and then held that trend line for a couple of days showing a doji, but I'm pretty much essentially just pausing briefly and then starting to show signs of possible more selling again. There was a hammer that showed up here that could have maybe created a little bit of doubt, especially in an oversold state, but the volume wasn't real strong. So there weren't that many buyers necessarily stepping in. There was a little bit of a bump up, so some did, of course, and now they essentially created a bear flag is all that really turned out to be. So one could have exited and re-entered again. There's a bear flag looking for the next leg lower is how that worked out. Hit the next target, and then essentially the next target on a massive reversal. So this is a place where you want to consider absolutely getting out. So you've been trailing it anyway, but a sign like that says pretty much you're done on that. So NCS giving us great opportunities where sometimes you don't necessarily find them. It will find some hidden gems, and this is one of the scans that I use. There's other ones you can set up where you've got all the candle patterns available, or whichever ones you choose, including maybe an overbought, oversold combination of stochastics. I've got some other stuff regarding just looking at just all the candles for that matter, as in terms of a column. I had just shown you the standard versus the strict criteria, giving a little bit of a variation in terms of how strict or how clean the reading might be. And part of our arsenal also is what we call a bouncing ball, which is all hammer based on this one. So we're looking for hammers only, and we're looking for retracements and or tests of those lower shadows, and we're looking for buying opportunities on the long side. So if I added a list to this, we're going to add maybe a shorter list. Let's do like maybe the IBD big cap and see if something shows up. So you'll see very quickly that we had a couple of, both on a hammer standard and strict, we had BX and NVIDIA show up as hammers. And of course, we already had NVIDIA as that short side, and there's that next leg lower into that next target area. Once again, there's the hammer from a few days back, and BX, I'll show you very quickly. There's the hammer showing up there as well in terms of identification with the NCS. So a multitude of variations in terms of what kind of scans you can do, time frames, whatever candle patterns you want, including some additional Western indicators, and then you scan through looking for any and all kinds of opportunities that will provide you the kinds of profits you're looking for in your trading. So any kind of additional information you may need, by all means, email paul@candlecharts.com or check out the link below for a greater explanation of the product, but also a more detailed demo of the product as well.